Read People's Weaknesses by Ethan Black, published by Audiobooks HUB. Introduction: The Hidden Language of Weakness. We live in a world where the words we speak, the gestures we make, and the way we interact with others shape our relationships and our perception of one another. But what if the most important aspects of communication lie beneath the surface? What if the true story of a person's life, their fears, desires, and vulnerabilities, could be read in the unspoken elements of their speech, their body language, and their behavior? Every person carries weaknesses, often hidden behind a veil of pride, confidence, or self-protection. These vulnerabilities are not always visible to the naked eye, but they are constantly being revealed through subtle cues, automatic responses, and even in the spaces between words. To truly understand a person, you must learn to read these hidden signals, the unconscious fears, past traumas, insecurities, and emotional triggers that shape their actions and reactions. This book is about decoding those weaknesses. It's about learning the art of seeing what others may not even know they are revealing. By tuning into the subtle signs that others are broadcasting, you can gain a deeper understanding of their true selves, their motivations, their insecurities, and what they may be hiding from the world. In doing so, you not only gain insight into others, but also into yourself, uncovering the layers of your own vulnerabilities and how they shape your behavior. Understanding someone's weaknesses goes beyond exploiting them. It's about empathy, connection, and the power to build more meaningful relationships. It's about helping others overcome their fears and grow, while also fostering your own growth and resilience. Weaknesses, when understood with compassion and awareness, become sources of strength. Throughout the following chapters, we will explore the many facets of human vulnerability, from the power of body language to the hidden influence of the subconscious mind. We'll delve into how people reveal their weaknesses without even realizing it. We'll uncover the emotional triggers, cognitive biases, and past experiences that shape our behavior. And we'll learn how to turn these weaknesses into opportunities for growth and connection. Whether you're looking to better understand those around you, improve your relationships, or gain a deeper sense of self-awareness, this book will provide you the tools to decode the hidden language of weakness and turn it into strength. Chapter 1: The Power of Words. In the intricate dance of human interaction, words are the primary means of communication. But words alone rarely tell the full story. The subtleties in tone, the pauses, the choice of words, these all carry a wealth of information. To truly understand a person, one must be able to look beyond the surface of what is being said and interpret the hidden emotions, fears, and insecurities lying beneath. When you listen carefully, you'll begin to notice patterns in how people speak. A slight hesitation before answering a question may indicate doubt or uncertainty. A sudden shift in tone could suggest a change in emotional state or an attempt to hide discomfort. Even the speed at which someone talks can be a window into their mental state. Fast speech might indicate anxiety, while slower speech may indicate deep thought, or conversely, someone trying to control their emotions. Understanding the psychology behind speech can be likened to decoding a secret language. It's not about hearing the words themselves, but about reading the subtle cues they give. To some, this may sound like an art, but in reality, it's a skill that anyone can develop with practice. By studying the language people use, both verbal and nonverbal, you can begin to identify the vulnerabilities they might not even know they are revealing. We all have weaknesses, areas of our psyche that we guard carefully from others. These vulnerabilities might stem from past trauma, insecurities, or unmet needs. In a conversation, people often try to hide these weaknesses, but they can be inadvertently exposed through their words. The ability to recognize these hidden signals is a powerful tool in understanding the underlying motivations and fears that drive behavior. When we speak, we don't always consciously choose every word or phrase. Sometimes, our unconscious mind takes over, revealing more about us than we realize. This is where the real power lies. not in the words themselves, but in the unintentional cues that our subconscious mind leaks through our speech patterns. By paying close attention to these cues, you can uncover the true story behind what is being said. In the following chapters, we'll delve deeper into various techniques that can help you decode people's weaknesses and better understand the messages they may not be consciously sending. Understanding these hidden cues will not only improve your ability to read people, but also empower you to navigate the complexities of human relationships with greater insight and empathy. Chapter 2: The Subtle Art of Listening. In the fast-paced world we live in, we often forget that true listening is not just about hearing words. Most people listen with the intent to respond, rather than to understand. This is a crucial distinction. When you listen to respond, your mind is focused on crafting the perfect answer, and you might miss out on the deeper layers of the conversation. However, when you listen with the intent to understand, you become more attuned to the nuances and hidden messages beneath the surface. The first step in decoding a person's weaknesses is learning to truly listen. This requires active listening, which goes beyond just hearing the words. It means being fully present in the moment, giving the speaker your undivided attention, and allowing them to express themselves without judgment or interruption. In active listening, you pick up on subtle shifts in tone, pauses, and body language, all of which are critical to understanding the underlying emotions. A skilled listener understands that silence can speak just as loudly as words. The pauses between sentences or the lack of response to a question can reveal discomfort, hesitation, or a lack of confidence. People often use silence to buy time, reflect on their thoughts, or avoid giving an answer that might reveal too much. By recognizing these pauses and interpreting them correctly, you can gain insight into a person's emotional state and thought process. Another key aspect of listening is picking up on contradictions. When someone says one thing but their tone, body language, or facial expressions suggest something else, there's a discrepancy that can't be ignored. These contradictions are often signs of internal conflict, and they offer valuable clues about a person's true feelings and weaknesses. For instance, a person might say they're confident in a particular situation, but if their body language is closed off, arms crossed, avoiding eye contact, there may be an underlying insecurity they're trying to hide. Listening also requires empathy. Empathy allows you to tune in to the emotional undertones of the conversation. When you understand the emotional state of the person you're speaking with, you can better interpret what they may not be explicitly saying. For example, someone who speaks with a sense of urgency may be experiencing anxiety, while a person who speaks slowly and deliberately may be trying to hide uncertainty or avoid confrontation. Recognizing these emotional cues allows you to connect with them on a deeper level. Effective listening also involves asking open-ended questions to encourage further disclosure. By prompting someone to elaborate on their thoughts or feelings, you create an environment where they feel safe to reveal more than they initially intended. In doing so, you invite them to open up and expose vulnerabilities that may not have been apparent at first. People may not always be aware of their own weaknesses, but through careful listening, you can uncover what they're hiding. Their words, combined with their tone, body language, and the way they respond to certain topics, provide a rich tapestry of insights into their psychological makeup. The more you practice this type of listening, the better you'll become at identifying these hidden vulnerabilities, which is an invaluable skill in both personal and professional interactions. Chapter 3: Body language speaks louder than words. While words carry weight, body language often speaks louder. Our bodies are constantly communicating, even when we aren't consciously aware of it. The way someone stands, the gestures they make, or the way they position themselves during a conversation all provide valuable information about their inner state and can reveal their weaknesses. One of the most telling signs of a person's internal world is their posture. People who are insecure or feeling vulnerable may unconsciously make themselves smaller, crossing their arms or slouching. These protective gestures signal a lack of confidence or discomfort. On the other hand, someone who stands tall with an open posture may be trying to project confidence, but this could also be a defense mechanism. Understanding the difference between authentic confidence and facade is key in reading a person's vulnerabilities. Another powerful indicator of hidden weaknesses is eye contact. When people avoid eye contact, it's often a sign of discomfort, guilt, or avoidance. Conversely, overly intense eye contact can be a form of dominance or control, but it can also be a way to mask insecurities or nervousness. Subtle shifts in gaze, looking away, darting eyes, or blinking too frequently, can indicate anxiety or dishonesty. If someone has struggled with their own emotions, they may find it hard to maintain steady eye contact, as they're subconsciously trying to distance themselves from the truth. Paying attention to the micro gestures that accompany speech is also crucial in decoding body language. A person may verbally express confidence, but small movements such as fidgeting, tapping fingers, or scratching the back of their neck can reveal anxiety or uncertainty. These small, unconscious gestures are often manifestations of underlying emotions like fear or discomfort, giving you a window into their true feelings. People also tend to give away their emotional state through their facial expressions. A raised eyebrow, a clenched jaw, or a tight-lipped smile can communicate tension, frustration, or even hostility. Emotions like anger, sadness, and anxiety are often written all over our faces, and being able to read these expressions can help you identify hidden vulnerabilities. A person may try to mask their feelings with a smile, but the subtle tightening of the face around the eyes can betray their true emotions. One of the most revealing aspects of body language is the way people position themselves in relation to others. Personal space is an essential element in communication, and how someone interacts with the distance between themselves and others can tell you a lot. If someone is physically backing away or keeping their distance, it could be a sign that they are uncomfortable, defensive, or unwilling to engage. Conversely, someone who invades personal space might be doing so out of a need to assert control or dominance, but this could also be a sign of insecurity and a desire for validation. Mirroring is another crucial element of body language. When people are comfortable with each other, they tend to unconsciously mirror each other's movements. This creates a sense of connection and understanding. However, if someone is mirroring you in a forced or exaggerated way, it could indicate that they're trying to gain your approval or are feeling self-conscious. The way a person mirrors your body language, intentionally or not, can reveal their level of comfort, trust, and self-esteem. By carefully observing the subtle cues in a person's body language, you can begin to uncover their weaknesses. Whether a protective stance, an anxious gesture, or a fleeting facial expression, body language holds the key to understanding what someone may be trying to hide. The more you practice reading these signals, the better you become at identifying the hidden emotions and insecurities that drive human behavior. Chapter 4. The Power of Voice, Decoding Tone and Pitch. The way we speak reveals far more than the words we choose. Tone, pitch, and pacing are all instrumental in understanding someone's psychological state. A slight shift in how someone speaks can reveal their emotional vulnerabilities, their level of confidence, and even their true intentions. To truly decode a person's weaknesses, it's not just about what they say, but how they say it. Tone is one of the most significant indicators of underlying emotions. It can reveal a range of feelings, from anger and frustration to joy and empathy. For instance, a harsh, flat tone can suggest irritation or defensive posture, while a soft, high-pitched tone can indicate nervousness or insecurity. In contrast, a calm and measured tone may suggest someone who is trying to maintain control, possibly to hide a deeper vulnerability. The pitch of someone's voice is equally important. A higher pitch is often associated with stress or anxiety, as the vocal cords tense when we are under pressure. People may raise their pitch when they're trying to convince others or express excitement, But this could also be a subtle attempt to make themselves appear more engaging or assertive when they may be feeling insecure inside. Conversely, a lower pitch might suggest authority or calmness, but it can also be an attempt to mask nervousness or fear. Speed of speech is another powerful clue. People who speak rapidly may be feeling anxious or excited, and they often struggle to keep up with their thoughts. This can be an indication of internal stress or an attempt to avoid confrontation or uncomfortable topics. On the other hand, a slower rate of speech may signal deep thought or, conversely, an attempt to control emotions. Slow speech can sometimes indicate that a person is weighing their words carefully, possibly to avoid revealing something vulnerable or to control their emotional response. Pauses in speech are particularly revealing. When someone pauses before answering a question, they may be stalling to collect their thoughts or avoid telling the truth. A long pause can indicate hesitation, doubt, or an attempt to suppress a strong emotional reaction. Similarly, if a person repeatedly pauses in the middle of their speech or struggles to find the right words, it could indicate a lack of confidence or fear of judgment. The volume of someone's voice also carries weight in understanding their emotional state. A person who speaks loudly and forcefully may be attempting to assert dominance or appear confident, but this could be masking feelings of insecurity or inadequacy. Conversely, a person who speaks softly might be trying to avoid attention, reflecting a sense of vulnerability or fear. Their quietness might indicate a lack of self-assurance or an attempt to stay under the radar to protect themselves from scrutiny. Another important aspect of voice to consider is the use of fillers like or you know. These fillers often occur when a person is unsure, uncomfortable, or trying to buy time while formulating their thoughts. Frequent use of these fillers can signal a lack of confidence or a fear of saying something wrong. Similarly, overuse of certain phrases like "I'm not sure" or "maybe" can indicate self-doubt, reflecting a person's vulnerability in their decision-making process. By paying attention to the tone, pitch, speed, and volume of someone's voice, you can gain significant insight into their emotional state and underlying insecurities. These vocal cues reveal more than what is being said. They provide a glimpse into the person's inner world, their fears, and their attempt to hide or protect their vulnerabilities. Mastering the art of decoding vocal cues takes practice, but once you understand the language of tone and pitch, you'll be able to read between the lines of what's being said. Whether the sudden change in pitch or a hesitant pause, each vocal shift gives you the tools to decipher the hidden weaknesses people may not consciously want to reveal. Chapter 5. Reading between the lines, the unspoken words. Not every communication is verbal. Often, what's not said carries just as much, if not more, weight than what is. People tend to reveal their true emotions and vulnerabilities through indirect forms of communication, such as silence, sarcasm, or half-finished thoughts. To decode someone's weaknesses, it's important to look beyond the obvious and explore the spaces between their words. Silence is a powerful tool in communication. While it may seem passive, it can speak volumes about a person's emotional state. The absence of words often indicates discomfort, avoidance, or internal conflict. When someone is faced with an uncomfortable question, they might fall silent. Try to avoid revealing too much. In other instances, silence can be used as a tool to gain control over the conversation, waiting for the other person to fill the gap. The more a person tries to hide something, the longer the silence tends to stretch. Pay attention to the way someone uses silence in a conversation. When someone suddenly stops speaking mid-sentence or hesitates before answering a question, it's often a sign they're guarding something. This could be a sensitive issue, an insecurity, or a fear of revealing too much. It's in these pauses, in these moments of hesitation, that you can often find the true vulnerabilities a person is trying to shield from view. Someone who frequently avoids eye contact or breaks the rhythm of conversation with awkward silences might be attempting to distance themselves from an emotionally charged topic. Sarcasm is another form of indirect communication that often masks deeper emotional states. People who frequently use sarcasm may be hiding their insecurities or deflecting from something they don't want to confront. Sarcasm is often used as a defense mechanism. When someone feels vulnerable, they may resort to sarcasm to deflect attention from their weaknesses or to hide their true emotions. While the words themselves may sound humorous or dismissive, the underlying sentiment is often a shield designed to protect a person from being perceived as weak or fragile. The way someone answers a question can also reveal a lot about their vulnerabilities. When someone responds with vagueness, deflects the question, or provides a half-hearted answer, they may be hiding something. A person who is unable or unwilling to give a clear and direct response is likely trying to protect themselves from being exposed. This avoidance behavior can indicate discomfort with the topic at hand, or fear of being judged or misunderstood. In addition to vague responses, people often reveal their emotional state through what they choose to omit. The absence of certain details or the failure to explain something in full can often be more telling than what's actually said. When someone refuses to provide further context or purposely leaves out critical information, it may be because they're trying to keep something hidden, whether it's an insecurity, a fear, or a personal flaw they're reluctant to acknowledge. The gaps in their communication are clues to their vulnerabilities. Another common form of indirect communication is the use of yes, but, or I don't know, but. These phrases often signal that the person is unsure of themselves or hesitant to commit to something. They may be trying to avoid taking a stance or making a decision because they fear the consequences of being wrong. These kind of qualifiers suggest that the person is holding back, unsure of their own position, and unwilling to make themselves fully vulnerable. Half-finished thoughts and trailing off sentences are also significant. When someone starts a thought but doesn't finish it, it's often an indication of reluctance to express the full truth. People might leave statements incomplete when they feel exposed, or they might fear the impact of saying too much. This avoidance mechanism is often subconscious, but it can reveal underlying vulnerabilities that the person is too afraid to voice openly. Listening carefully to the unspoken words, the silences, the sarcasm, the omissions, can often provide a clearer picture of a person's true emotional state than the words they speak. In a world full of indirect communication, paying attention to these subtle cues will allow you to decode people's weaknesses more effectively. The next time you're in a conversation, tune into what's not being said. The gaps, the pauses, and the unspoken words may hold the most powerful clues to understanding a person's true self. Chapter 6. The Subconscious Mind. Unlocking hidden fears and desires. Much of what we communicate is controlled by our conscious mind, but an even larger portion of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are influenced by the subconscious. The subconscious is a powerful force that shapes how we react to the world, how we perceive ourselves, and how we engage with others. To decode someone's weaknesses, it's essential to learn how to recognize the subtle signals that arise from the subconscious mind, often revealed through automatic responses, body language, and even certain speech patterns. One of the most significant subconscious indicators of vulnerability is defensive behavior. When a person feels threatened, whether physically or emotionally, they automatically engage in protective behaviors. These subconscious responses can be revealed through body language, crossed arms, shifting away from others, or avoiding eye contact. People who feel insecure may adopt these protective stances without even realizing it. By noticing when someone instinctively defends themselves, whether by shrinking away, avoiding confrontation, or displaying closed-off body language, you can begin to pinpoint areas where they may feel vulnerable. Another powerful subconscious signal is the use of self-deprecating language. Many people, whether they realize it or not, downplay their own achievements or criticize themselves in subtle ways. This could be in a form of humor, making fun of their own mistakes or flaws, or through language that diminishes their abilities. People who habitually use self-deprecating language often struggle with low self-esteem or deep-seated insecurities. These subconscious attempts to hide weaknesses can reveal a lack of confidence, a fear of judgment, or a desire to seek validation from others. A person's subconscious fears are often expressed in the language they use. For example, phrases like, "I'm not sure, but," or "I might be wrong, but," are frequently employed by individuals who are uncertain or anxious. These qualifiers reflect a deep fear of being judged or rejected. Similarly, people who often say things like, "I don't know," or "I'm just not good at that," might be subconsciously avoiding tasks or responsibilities that they fear they are incapable of handling. Their language is a shield against vulnerability, revealing their subconscious reluctance to face their perceived weaknesses. The way someone reacts to criticism also provides insight into their subconscious vulnerabilities. A person who immediately becomes defensive or dismissive in response to even constructive feedback may be harboring deep fears of inadequacy. Alternatively, someone who withdraws or becomes silent after being criticized may be unconsciously internalizing the feedback, allowing it to amplify their insecurities. Both reactions, whether aggressive or passive, are defense mechanisms meant to protect the individual from confronting feelings of failure or weakness. Another way to tap into the subconscious mind is to observe how someone handles stress or pressure. Under stressful conditions, a person's true vulnerabilities often surface. Those who appear calm and collected on the outside might be suppressing intense feelings of anxiety or fear, which can emerge as physical tension, fidgeting, or changes in breathing patterns. Others might exhibit more overt signs of stress, such as nervous laughter or a sudden change in speech patterns. These subconscious responses are signals of inner turmoil, fear, or doubt that may not be directly acknowledged, but are clearly evident in their behavior. The concept of projection is also essential to understanding subconscious vulnerabilities. People often project their own insecurities, fears, or flaws onto others. If someone is overly critical of others' mistakes, it could be a reflection of their own deep fear of failure. Similarly, someone who is quick to accuse others of dishonesty or wrongdoing might be struggling with feelings of guilt or shame. Projection is a subconscious defense mechanism that deflects attention from a person's own weaknesses by directing focus onto others. By recognizing projection, you can uncover hidden fears and weaknesses that the person may not even be aware of. The subconscious mind communicates through automatic responses, behavior patterns, and defensive mechanisms. Understanding these unconscious signals allows you to read between the lines and access a person's hidden fears, desires, and insecurities. People often have no idea how much their subconscious mind is influencing their actions and words, but by tuning into these cues, you can gain valuable insight into their emotional landscape. By recognizing these hidden vulnerabilities, you can learn to communicate with others in a way that acknowledges their fears, allows you to build rapport, and helps you navigate difficult conversations with more empathy and understanding. Decoding subconscious behavior is not just about gaining an upper hand. It's about building a deeper connection and fostering mutual trust. Chapter 7. Emotional Triggers. Recognizing the hot buttons. Every person has emotional triggers, areas in their lives that spark intense reactions, often linked to past experiences, unresolved conflicts, or deeply rooted fears. These triggers are not always consciously acknowledged, yet they play a powerful role in shaping a person's responses to situations, conversations, and even other people. When you learn to identify these emotional triggers, you gain an invaluable tool for understanding a person's vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Emotional triggers can be based on a wide range of factors, from childhood experiences to cultural influences, past traumas, or personal values. A seemingly innocent comment or gesture can stir up a wave of emotions in a person, causing them to react in ways they may not even understand themselves. Often, these reactions are driven by past wounds or unresolved emotional pain, making them one of the most powerful indicators of a person's underlying weaknesses. One common emotional trigger is the fear of rejection. People who have experienced rejection, whether in relationships, work, or personal endeavors, often have a heightened sensitivity to any sign of potential rejection in their present lives. This can manifest as an overreaction to minor criticisms, an extreme need for validation, or an intense fear of being ignored or dismissed. When someone reacts defensively or excessively to what seems like harmless feedback, it often points to deep-seated insecurities, an emotional trigger of fear of rejection. Another powerful trigger is the fear of failure. Many people carry the weight of high expectations, whether from family, society, or themselves. This pressure can lead to intense fear of failure, which becomes an emotional vulnerability that they may try to hide. If someone becomes visibly anxious or defensive when confronted with the possibility of failure, whether in a work project, a personal goal, or a social situation, it's likely that they have unresolved issues related to perfectionism or fear of judgment. Their reaction, often disproportionate to the situation, exposes their inner vulnerabilities. One of the most subtle yet powerful emotional triggers is shame. Shame can be a deeply ingrained emotion, often stemming from past mistakes, perceived inadequacies, or the fear of being found out. People who struggle with shame often react strongly to any situation that brings attention to their flaws, mistakes, or weaknesses. This can manifest as defensiveness, anger, or withdrawal. They may try to deflect the conversation or redirect attention elsewhere in an attempt to avoid the discomfort of facing their shame. Recognizing when shame is the root of a reaction allows you to understand the vulnerability a person may be attempting to hide. People also have triggers related to feelings of inadequacy. This can be a result of comparisons to others, a fear of not measuring up, or a lack of self-esteem. If someone reacts negatively when asked to perform or when their abilities are questioned, it could indicate that they feel inadequate in that area. For example, a person who becomes frustrated or angry when their intelligence, appearance, or abilities are questioned might be experiencing an emotional trigger tied to their sense of worth. These reactions often stem from a belief that they are not good enough, making it difficult for them to accept criticism or feedback. In relationships, the fear of being controlled or manipulated is another common emotional trigger. People who have been in toxic or controlling relationships in the past are often hyper-aware of any behavior that may seem like manipulation. When they perceive even a hint of control or dominance in a conversation or interaction, they may react with heightened defensiveness, anger, or mistrust. These reactions are a defense mechanism to protect themselves from the emotional pain of being manipulated again. Recognizing emotional triggers in others is not about exploiting their vulnerabilities. It's about understanding the deep-rooted fears and emotions that drive their behavior. Once you can identify these triggers, you can respond with more empathy, adjust your communication style, and avoid unintentionally pushing buttons that could cause emotional distress. In some cases, you might even help the person become more aware of their own triggers, fostering a deeper connection and understanding between you. The ability to recognize and navigate emotional triggers can be a powerful tool in building stronger relationships, whether personal or professional. When you understand what makes someone tick emotionally, you can communicate with them in a way that reduces defensiveness and opens the door to more meaningful conversations. People are often unaware of how their past experiences shape their emotional reactions in the present, but by understanding these triggers, you can help them become more conscious of their own vulnerabilities and offer them the opportunity to heal and grow. Chapter 8. The Role of Cognitive Bias. How Perception Distorts Reality. We all have cognitive biases, mental shortcuts that allow us to make quick decisions and judgments. While these biases are useful in helping us navigate the complexities of everyday life, they also distort our perception of reality. These biases are often rooted in past experiences, emotions, and social influences, and they can reveal a person's weaknesses by shaping their behavior and responses in ways they may not be aware of. Understanding these biases is key to recognizing the hidden flaws and vulnerabilities that may be influencing a person's thoughts and actions. One of the most common cognitive biases is confirmation bias. People with confirmation bias tend to seek out information that supports their existing beliefs and ignore information that contradicts them. This bias creates a distorted view of reality, as it prevents individuals from seeing things from a more balanced perspective. When someone is caught in the grip of confirmation bias, they may be resistant to feedback, unable to accept new information, or overly defensive when their beliefs are challenged. This bias often stems from a deep need to feel validated and secure in one's own worldview, revealing an underlying fear of uncertainty or change. Another pervasive bias is the self-serving bias, where people tend to attribute their successes to internal factors, such as skill, effort, or talent, and their failures to external factors like bad luck or the actions of others. This bias can create an inflated sense of self-importance and prevent a person from taking responsibility for their mistakes. When someone consistently deflects blame or refuses to acknowledge their own role in a failure, it highlights a vulnerability related to self-esteem and accountability. They may fear that acknowledging their flaws will diminish their sense of self-worth, so they protect their ego by shifting the blame. The fundamental attribution error is another cognitive bias that plays a significant role in how we perceive others. This bias occurs when we attribute someone's behavior to their character or personality, rather than considering the situational factors that may have influenced their actions. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you might assume they are rude or inconsiderate, without considering that they may be in a hurry or deal with personal crisis. People with this bias are quick to judge others without understanding the full context, which can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts. This bias reveals a tendency to make snap judgments, which often stems from a lack of empathy or a deep-seated fear of vulnerability in social interactions. The halo effect is another bias that can skew perception. This occurs when we allow one positive trait of a person to influence our overall judgment of them. For example, if someone is attractive or charismatic, we might assume they are also intelligent or competent, even if there is no evidence to support these assumptions. Conversely, the reverse halo effect can happen when we allow one negative trait to cloud our judgment of a person's overall character. These biases can lead to unfair assessment of others, often based on superficial qualities, and reveal a weakness in one's ability to objectively evaluate people and situations. The availability heuristic is a bias that influences our judgment based on the information that is most readily available in our minds. If someone has recently heard about a plane crash on the news, they might overestimate the likelihood of an airplane accident, even though statistically, flying is much safer than driving. This bias can lead to irrational fears or overreactions to rare events, revealing underlying vulnerabilities related to anxiety or the fear of losing control. People who rely on the availability heuristic may struggle to make rational decisions, as their perception is shaped by the most recent or vivid experiences, rather than a balanced understanding of the facts. Another cognitive bias that reveals weaknesses is the status quo bias, where people tend to prefer things to stay the same rather than risk change, even when change might be beneficial. This bias is driven by a fear of the unknown and an emotional attachment to comfort and routine. People who are resistant to change may have a deep-seated fear of failure or insecurity, leading them to avoid taking risks or trying new things. This bias can prevent growth and progress, as it keeps individuals trapped in old patterns and habits, reinforcing their vulnerabilities and fears of the unfamiliar. By understanding these cognitive biases, you can gain insight into the ways in which people's perceptions are distorted by their emotions, past experiences, and social conditioning. Recognizing these biases allows you to see beyond the surface-level judgments and behaviors that others may exhibit, revealing the deeper insecurities, fears, and vulnerabilities that shape their actions. In conversations and interactions, being aware of these biases helps you navigate more effectively, as you can anticipate how someone might react based on their distorted perceptions. Additionally, recognizing your own biases can lead to greater self-awareness and personal growth, as you learn to challenge your assumptions and view the world from a more balanced, objective perspective. Chapter 9. The Influence of Past Experiences, How History Shapes Behavior. Our past experiences play a crucial role in shaping how we think, feel, and behave in the present. Each person's history, whether it's filled with triumphs or marked by hardships, leaves a lasting imprint on their psychological makeup. Often, the emotional wounds, unresolved conflicts, and formative experiences from the past influence a person's vulnerabilities, reactions, and weaknesses without them even realizing it. To truly decode someone's weaknesses, it's essential to understand how their history continues to affect their present behavior. One of the most significant ways past experiences shape behavior is through trauma. Trauma, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, creates deep-seated fears and insecurities that influence how a person interacts with the world. People who have experienced trauma, whether in childhood, relationships, or during significant life events, may develop defense mechanisms to protect themselves from further harm. These defenses can manifest as distrust, fear of vulnerability, or an aversion to situations that remind them of their past pain. For example, someone who has experienced betrayal in a past relationship might be overly cautious or defensive in new relationships, fearing that they will be hurt again. This fear of vulnerability becomes a weakness, as it prevents them from fully opening up to others and forming genuine connections. Similarly, someone who has been physically or emotionally abused may exhibit signs of low self-worth, difficulty trusting others, or heightened anxiety. The emotional scars from past experiences continue to shape their behavior, making them more sensitive to perceived threats and more likely to react defensively. People who have been through difficult childhoods may also carry unresolved issues into their adult lives. Childhood experiences, particularly those involving neglect, abandonment, or inconsistent caregiving, can create deep feelings of unworthiness and insecurity. These unresolved issues can manifest in adult relationships, where the person may feel the need to prove themselves or seek constant validation from others. They may become overly dependent on external sources of approval, reflecting a weakness that stems from the lack of emotional support they received earlier in life. The impact of past failures is another powerful force in shaping behavior. When someone experiences repeated failure, particularly in a public or significant way, it can erode their self-confidence and instill fear of failure that persists long into the future. People who have experienced failure may develop a tendency to avoid taking risks or pursuing goals, as the fear of repeating past mistakes becomes overwhelming. This pattern of avoidance is a defense mechanism designed to shield them from further disappointment, but it also prevents them from growing or achieving success. The more they protect themselves from failure, the more they reinforce their own vulnerabilities. Past experiences with rejection, whether in personal relationships or professional settings, can also leave lasting scars. People who have been rejected or marginalized in the past often develop a heightened sensitivity to the possibility of being rejected again. This fear can manifest as excessive people-pleasing, a lack of assertiveness, or an unwillingness to stand up for themselves. They may constantly seek approval from others, worried that if they don't, they will face the same rejection they experienced before. This need for external validation is a weakness rooted in their history of rejection and can prevent them from confidently asserting their own needs and desires. The stories we tell ourselves about our past also shape our current behavior. The narratives we construct around past events determine how we perceive ourselves and our capabilities. Someone who believes they were always overlooked or undervalued may struggle to assert themselves in the present, constantly seeking validation or questioning their worth. On the other hand, someone who has overcome adversity may have developed a strong sense of resilience and self-efficacy. These personal narratives, whether empowering or limiting, continue to influence how we engage with the world around us. Understanding the impact of past experiences is essential for decoding someone's weaknesses. By recognizing the ways in which their history shapes their present reactions, you gain deeper insight into their vulnerabilities. This knowledge allows you to approach conversations and interactions with greater empathy, as you can appreciate the emotional weight that certain triggers or behaviors carry for them. At the same time, being aware of how the past affects your own behavior can help you break free from limiting patterns and grow beyond the wounds of the past. Healing from past experiences is an ongoing process, and while it may not be easy, understanding the role that history plays in shaping behavior is the first step toward growth and emotional resilience. Chapter 10. Building Strength Through Awareness. Turning weaknesses into strengths. The process of understanding and decoding someone's weaknesses is not simply about identifying flaws. It's about gaining awareness of the deeper forces that drive human behavior. Once you understand the vulnerabilities hidden beneath the surface, you can use that awareness to foster personal growth, strengthen relationships, and ultimately turn weaknesses into sources of strength. This chapter focuses on how self-awareness and empathy can lead to transformation, both for yourself and for others. Awareness is a first step in any process of change. The act of recognizing our own weaknesses and vulnerabilities is not easy, but it's essential for growth. When we understand the fears, insecurities, and triggers that influence our behavior, we gain the ability to confront them head-on, rather than unconsciously reacting to situations. This level of self-awareness allows us to break free from old patterns and build healthier, more constructive ways of engaging with the world. In relationships, whether personal or professional, understanding the vulnerabilities of others can be a powerful tool for fostering connection. When you can recognize the emotional triggers and weaknesses in those around you, you gain the opportunity to approach them with empathy and compassion. This understanding creates a deeper bond, as it allows you to communicate more effectively and avoid inadvertently triggering defensive responses. Rather than focusing on flaws or weaknesses, you can offer support and encouragement, helping others overcome their own vulnerabilities. Empathy plays a crucial role in transforming weaknesses into strengths. When we approach others with empathy, we create a space where they feel safe to express their insecurities and fears. This safe environment allows people to confront their weaknesses, heal from past wounds, and develop greater emotional resilience. Empathy encourages vulnerability, and vulnerability is where true growth begins. By being understanding and non-judgmental, we give others a permission to be imperfect, which allows them to embrace their weaknesses and work through them. For yourself, recognizing your weaknesses is not about self-criticism or feeling inadequate. Instead, it's about taking ownership of the areas where you struggle and using that knowledge to fuel personal development. Weaknesses, when understood and accepted, become opportunities for growth. For instance, if you know that you tend to react offensively to criticism, you can work on developing greater emotional control and resilience. By acknowledging your triggers, you can practice mindfulness and response regulation, slowly transforming a defensiveness into a space for constructive feedback and self-improvement. Turning weaknesses into strengths also involves recognizing and reframing limiting beliefs. We all carry narratives in our minds about what we can and cannot do, often based on past experiences or societal expectations. These beliefs create self-imposed limitations that prevent us from reaching our full potential. However, when we recognize that these beliefs are not fixed truths but perceptions shaped by our past, we can begin to challenge them. By reframing negative self-talk and shifting our mindset from one of scarcity to one of possibility, we can turn our weaknesses into stepping stones toward success. The same principles apply to others. When you notice someone else's vulnerabilities, instead of using them as points of weakness to exploit or judge, you can approach them with a mindset of empowerment, helping others recognize their own potential and guiding them to their fears or insecurities can lead to profound transformations. By offering support, encouragement, and a safe space for vulnerability, you allow others to grow in ways they might never have thought possible. Finally, the key to turning weaknesses into strengths lies in continuous growth. Recognizing that weaknesses are not permanent, but rather opportunity for development, allows you to approach them with patience and perseverance. Strength is not built overnight, and neither are weaknesses erased in an instant. It's a lifelong process of self-awareness, understanding, and constant improvement. Turning weaknesses into strengths is not about eliminating imperfections, but rather about accepting them and using them as catalysts for growth. It's about recognizing that everyone has vulnerabilities, and that those vulnerabilities, when faced with empathy, awareness, and action, can be sources of immense personal strength. By embracing both your own and others' weaknesses with compassion and understanding, you can unlock the potential for greater emotional resilience, deeper connections, and a more fulfilling life.